Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more turkey patterning, and today we've got another really interesting combo to test with a shell that we've tried plenty of times but in other variations. We have not tested this particular shot size or variant of them anyway. Usually these shells are okay, but they've also never been over the top impressive, so maybe this particular shot size variation of them might be the key to get them to perform and give us that really nice turkey hunt pattern. I think we're going to be shell limited a little bit, but we've also got a choke we haven't tested in quite some time as well, so putting everything together may or may not work out for us the way we would like it to anyway. But for the shells we've got today, I brought out some more of the Remington Nitro Turkey shells, but these ones are the 12 gauge 3-inch 1 7/8 ounce payload of lead 6s at about 12-10 feet per second. We've tested our fair share of Nitro Turkey stuff on the channel. We've tried 2 3/4 inch, we've tried 3.5 inch, and we have just recently started testing the 3-inch ones as well. We've tried the 5s, we've tried the 4s, but we have not tried 6s yet, except I think we may have in 3.5 inch a long while back. So will the 3-inch 6s be the magical combination? I don't know. I've heard a few people say that the 3-inch 6s are their best performers, so we'll see what happens. As for the setup that we're running them in, I brought out my Remington 870 Special Purpose. It's got a 26-inch barrel on it, and for the choke, we're going to be running a Truglo Gobble-Stopper Xtreme. It's a 665 constriction. We haven't tested this choke in quite some time, but it is a decent budget option, really. I think last time I checked, these chokes were like 30 bucks or something like that. Price on them may very well have gone up a little bit over the last year or so, just like everything has, but usually these have been a pretty decent budget to maybe lower mid-price range type of choke for us. So we'll see how it works with the Nitro Turkey 6s. But as for today's test, we're running everything the same as usual. I've got the turkey target set up at 40 yards and the chrono to get the velocity. So let's get you guys to view that target, and we'll see how this relatively budget-oriented combination can actually do. Are the Nitro Turkey 6s any good? How well can that Truglo choke get them the pattern? I think we're still going to be shell limited just a little bit, but let's take our shot and see what we actually get. Okay, that show gave us 1247 through the chrono. Boss claim is 1210, so we are a little bit above it, but mid 1200s is pretty typical for these Nitro Turkeys overall. So nothing out of the normal here. Looks good for velocity, but did we actually get a good pattern at 40? Let's go check it out and see. Okay, so here we are down at our 40-yard paper, and really, this pattern isn't too bad for what these shells are. For a Remington Nitro Turkey shell, that's a solid performance overall. I don't think it's quite perfect yet. I think we can dial it in a little bit better with the right choke combo, but for the 3-inch Nitro 6s, I think we're off to a pretty decent start here overall, all things considered. Do we have a dead bird at 40 yards? Yes, absolutely so. There are multiple of them through the brain, and same thing down the spine, and there's nowhere that bird can move to and get through that pattern, so it is absolutely 40-yard capable, no question about it. And for the most part, the main area of the pattern kind of that you see right here on your screen is decently even overall. It's a little more broad, but it's not super splotchy or anything like that necessarily. Now, as we get to the edges, we definitely start stringing a little bit of stuff around there over to the right, and same with that down there at the bottom. Nothing overly surprising for a basic load and a lead 6 load at that, but you can definitely see, looking at the whole thing here, where it tried to start condensing itself down some. This is better than a number of the other Nitro Turkey patterns we've gotten over the years, for sure. We've seen way worse out of these shells in other variations. And I'm thinking, since this Truglo was a 665 choke, we may be able to go to a 660, or who knows, maybe even a 655 or something, and bring that in a little bit better. This is already a decent pattern for what it is. I definitely wouldn't mind to see it a little more constricted down though, and maybe we can do that. But if you're somebody that prefers a little more broad of a pattern, or it's going to be shooting your birds at 25 to 30 yards and thicker cover or something, nothing wrong with running that. These are a pretty cheap shell overall. That's a pretty budget oriented choke as well, and that combo would absolutely kill turkeys all day long, out to 40 yards or so. So not the worst pattern we've gotten from a Nitro Turkey. But let's pull the turkey target down. I'll finish drawing our circles and counting all of our pellets, and we'll really get a good idea on how these performed, because I really don't think it's too bad, all things considered. Okay, so now our turkey target is down and out of the way, and we can really get a good idea on how this patterned. And it's about what I thought. It's decent. We're on the right track for sure for a Remington Nitro Turkey shell. Our numbers are almost where I want to see them at, so we're not too far off here. And this is still a solid pattern for what it is, at least for what's inside of our big circles here. So we have a 10 and 20-inch circle drawn here. Within the 10-inch core, we have 91 pellets. Generally, about 100 pellets or so is what I like to see for a decent performing lead shell. Obviously, a Longbeard XR would put way more in the core, but I mean, 91, we're kind of right there at it. It might have a couple little thinner spots in there, kind of down towards the bottom right corner and top left corner up there, but that's just a little bit. That's clearly good enough core to do the job. Outside of that, with our 20-inch leeway ring, we pick up an additional 114 pellets. Usually, I don't mind seeing, 140, 150 in there. So we are a little bit under that, but it's still a pretty decently even spread. No major voids, maybe a little bit of one down in the bottom right corner down there, but overall, pretty decent even spread there. So everything within our circles looks solid for what the shell is. Outside of that, we obviously pick up a bunch of little flyers and straggly bits around the edges there. No surprise. That's just kind of a lead 6 load, a basic lead load, and a Remington shell, all three of them combined. So nothing too surprising there. Overall, I think we could use a little more choke with this combination. Maybe a 660, like I mentioned earlier, might be the ticket here. Usually I found the Primos Tightwad 660 to be a pretty good performer with a lot more of these basic budget-oriented shells. So maybe that might be the ticket here. Either way, it's a solid pattern, but it's got its flaws. It's not 100% perfect either, but I think we have a decent starting point if nothing else overall. So not terrible, all things considered. And here's our wad from that shell, typical Remington stuff. Obviously that choke does have porting and these Remington wads are pretty thin. So all this little torn up straggly stuff on the edge is no surprise whatsoever. This is very typical for a combo like this, but no major damage, nothing stuck in there, nothing I'm really concerned about overall. All right, y'all. Well, what did you think about that performance right there? I think we pretty well covered it. It's a okay turkey pattern. It's not the greatest thing we've ever seen for sure. A load of Longbeard XR shells would absolutely beat that out, no doubt about it. But for a basic Remington Nitro Turkey shell, that is on the cheap side for sure. And considering their track record, that's really not too bad. Maybe with them being a number 6, we got enough pellets to fill in some of the splotchy areas that we usually see out of the nitro shells, and maybe we can go to a little more choke and just bring those edges in a little bit. We'll see as we continue testing them. We'll see what they like, what they don't like, and we can go from there. But for a starting point with a pretty budget-oriented choke and a pretty basic shell, it's a solid enough pattern to do the job. I mean, a turkey is not going to make it through that spread at all. So if you don't want to spend big money on fancy shells or expensive chokes, even a setup like that would work just fine for the vast majority of situations. So for a Remington shell, that is a decent pattern, all things considered. Might not be anything special to write home about, but I would hunt it if it's what I had, but it still probably wouldn't be my first choice if I had the option anyway. But let me know all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Nitro Turkey 6s? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Is that a pattern or a combo you would actually hunt with? Or would you prefer to see it a little more condensed down than that? And maybe what other chokes do you want to see us run these shells through that you think might be a good performer? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.